What's happening, troops? Welcome back to a new video here on the SharpDiv YouTube channel. In this video today, we are going to be predicting our starting 11s for Rangers versus Benfica that is happening tomorrow at Ibrox Stadium in front of no fans, of course. I'm joined today by the co-host of the NFT Podcast, Jack Robertson, and a glorious retro Rangers top, I may add.
How you doing, man? It's nice fit, nice fit. I like it. I'm not usually a caller, man, but it's looking alright.
I was asking you before we started how it fitted and stuff like that, but do you want to tell the people that are watching? Because it's something that I was curious in.
Very similar to the way the kits are made in like the home away and third kit, like the one you're wearing. It's tight fitted for compared to last year. I got a small last year. And it looked a bit heavy on me. As you know, I'm not the biggest, but this small seems to fit alright.
It looks so much better, mate. Well, see, now I'm looking at it on you. I'm not giving you a compliment here, to be honest, but I'm just talking about the actual fit of the t-shirt, man. When I first seen it, I thought it looked good, but now that I'm seeing it on you, Jackie boy, I am loving it, mate.
Because it's on me? Is it because it's on me?
You know what? I think it is, actually. I think it is. Now, before we do get into our starting 11s, I may add that I just watched the Steven Gerrard press conference there, and Ryan Jack is a doubt. Of course, he might still feature in the game, but for that reason, I've taken him out of my starting 11. I actually had him there. Jack, did you have Ryan Jack starting as well, or not?
Before, but I hadn't made my team yet, and I watched the press conference. Right. I would have definitely had him in my team if that didn't get mentioned. But I've took that into account, so he's not one of mine either. It's
a wee bit of a blow because I think in the last few weeks he started to come on to a right game. I thought he was brilliant there at the weekend, but fortunately for Rangers at the moment, we do have a squad that is strong enough for when a guy like Ryan Jack comes out to go in and do a job. So I'm still very confident for tomorrow. It's going to be a hard game because we know Benfica are a tough side. Righty-ho. Do you want to start off with your goalkeeper, Jack?
I don't think it comes as much surprise. I went for Alan McGregor in goals. Best keeper in Scotland.
There we go, yeah. I mean, John McLaughlin's probably a close setting to kid now. I've went with Alan McGregor myself, Jack, of course. But something that we found out on last night's podcast that I'll be uploading. I think I'll upload this first and then the podcast afterwards. But we found out John McLaughlin's actually got the most clean sheets in the league. 8 clean sheets, which just goes to show you, man, how good a season that he's had as well. But there's no doubt in the number one goalkeeper at Rangers, and it's Alan McGregor.
Definitely.
Right, we'll move over to the left back position, and again, it's a player. It's very obvious for me. It's Borna Barisic. I'm guessing you went with him as well.
Yes, I have.
I want to get your thoughts on Borna anyway. Like, I think he's had a really good start to the season, obviously, but Tav has definitely caught a lot of the headlines more. It's a chance for Borna tomorrow versus Benfica to go out and show his quality, isn't it?
Definitely. He's the kind of Barisic is the kind of player that I've noticed. It was weird because he was never like a consistent player. And then I think you've said as well, since that free kick against St Mirren, he's not really put a foot wrong. And I think he's only getting better and better and better. And Tav has still the headlines because he's scoring goals and getting assists. And maybe Tav gets more headlines because he went from being almost wanted out by Rangers fans to one of our best players, whereas Barisic was never wanted out. He's got better as expected, but Tav was a bit of a shock, which is why I think he gets the headlines a bit more.
Fair enough, mate. Now, I want to go to you first here on the left centre-back position because, of course, there's probably one or two options here.
So I was tossing up between Hollander and Balogun. I'm not sure if anybody's if they're both fully fit or not. I didn't hear Gerrard mention any of them. I've stuck Hollander in there. I think Balogun probably would have been my first choice before the Aberdeen game. And then I don't think he was as sharp as Hollander's looking. I think Hollander looks a bit more solid in that position, which is why, and I think he pairs up with Goldson a wee bit better. I think Balogun and Goldson they don't clash, but they're doing different things. I feel like they get caught out more when they go side by side, whereas Hollander and Goldson seem to know what they're doing when they're in their positions. They know who's going to go forward a wee bit, they know who's going to sit back. So I went Hollander. Right,
this is the first time that we have differed then. As you said, you're tossing and throwing between the two. I'm going to go for Balogun. No to slate Hollander because I think recently in the big games you would have probably fancied Hollander because of how good he is defensively. But I just think although there at the weekend Balogun get caught over the top a couple of times, In the last game versus Benfica, Hollander didn't have a great game. And obviously he will bounce back for that because he's an awesome player, rate him very, very highly. But I think for what I've seen for Benfica, I'm going to put Balogun in there. And it will mean we have that wee bit of extra legs. You know, that's the reason why I've put him in there, because he's obviously still solid defensively. But if one of their players gets in behind, I think he'll maybe have the legs over Hollander. And we've seen in the last game how good they are, really, Jack, didn't we?
Aye, definitely. I think Benfica was one of the teams where I didn't really know what to think. I hadn't obviously don't watch a lot of Portuguese football, just know the name of Benfica, and you kind of get that wee feeling like, oh, that'll be a good game. And then when we went 3-1 up, I was kind of like, all right, we're actually all right at this football stuff, aren't we? And then obviously they got their 2 goals. They got their 2 goals at the close to the end, which stung a bit, but you would have took a point before that game, I think.
Definitely, mate. Definitely. And we're still in pole position, still get 2 games at home, and then an away game probably against... Well, Poznan did well in the last game, to be fair. I was going to say, maybe on paper, the weakest team, you could say. But I fully expect Rangers to go out and definitely pick up points in the home games for sure, hopefully, anyway. And then it means that they're able to relax a wee bit and potentially give guys like Zungu and stuff a chance in these games, because that will really, really test him, you know. But moving on to the final 2 in the back 4, then it's got to be the vice captain and the captain, Goldson and Tav, isn't it? There's no other options. We spoke about it in the podcast as well. These are probably the only 2 players that if they came out the side, I would be a wee bit nervous. They've been absolutely exceptional so far this season. Picked me up a lot of points in fantasy football as well, so I've been buzzing about that. Made the mistake of putting Nisbet as my captain in the last match day and not just sticking by my man Tav, but I thought with a double week he'd be able to get close to Tav, but even with a double week he was nowhere near him. But just touch on the both of them, Jack. I'm sure you've got them in your team, and just how impressed have you been with the both of them this season?
Goldson and Tav are 2 players that I wasn't massively confident on a couple of years ago when Gerrard first came in, and I think that the progress they've made shows how good Gerrard is as well, as much as they do, because he's obviously noticed that talent. He's been able to nurture them a wee bit better, and he's got the best out of them. Like I said in the podcast, if you watch it, Gerrard said once he gets a nice team and he knows what he's doing with them, who's going to stop us? And he's proved that time and time again with each player. And funny enough, the defence is, even though we've differed on one, the defence seems to be like the most obvious choices. Like left back, right back are never going to change. Goldson's not going to get that. There's only really one difference. The midfield and the strikers is where it starts to get a bit like you could actually put a few different people in. So Tavernier and Goldson are really going to be no starting any game this season unless there's a reason.
You were talking about the podcast there. See, before you came onto the meeting, I tried to put up one of those virtual backgrounds and use our logo. I don't know if this is going to work, but wait to see this. It just doesn't work. Wait to see this. What is that? What is that then?
I'm pretty sure because I've got a nice white background, I might be able to do something.
See, when I was trying it, mate, out of the van, how you doing, big man? When I was trying it before you came on. No way.
My teeth, that's fair enough.
Mate, that's absolutely glorious, by the way. When I was, mate, that's the thing that happened to me before I came on as well. Like the thing was on my face. I don't know what's going on there.
My walls are like a skin tone, so I've not noticed that yet. Cool.
That's glorious, man. Hey, moving on to the midfield, I did have Ryan Jack in here, but I'll just kick us off with my first one. I'm putting Glenn Kamara back into that free. He has been rested for a lot of the league games so far this season, but I think that's exactly what it is. It's rest and it's rotation. His performances have been absolutely outstanding. For me this season, he's come on to a right game. And it's just, see even when he came on at the weekend there versus Aberdeen, I thought it was really impressive. You know, see some of his wee touches when the boy's coming to maybe his right foot, he just drops his shoulder and brings it back inside. It's incredible. He just leaves midfielders for dust. In the last Benfica game, of course, he got a goal as well.
I think I've got Kamara in my midfield 3 as well. I think a big thing that I've seen about Kamara when he came on against Aberdeen was players that you notice a player's quality when they're getting some minutes and they're still proving that they should be contenders at the start of 11. You could easily come onto that game and coast that to the 90th minute and just get a bit of fitness about you. But he's came on and actually showed how good he is, and he's gained Gerard a headache. And the fact that Jack's going to be missing, I think that kind of gives him the chance. I don't think there's anybody else, because obviously there's another two obviously in my midfield that I'm going to say are quite secure in my midfield. And the only other option would have been Davis for me, but I've went with Kamara.
No bother at all. Righty-ho. I've went with my second choice, Stephen Davis. And I'm assuming potentially with your comments there, you don't have Stephen Davis in your team, which is fair enough, because there's a lot of players that can come into this midfield and they can do a job. Originally, I had Kamara, Davis, and I had Jack. I thought in this game, we're playing against a really tough side. That's a workman-like midfield, and we need the legs in there. We need that game IQ in there. But of course, Jack is now out the side. But I've still, instead of replacing the other guy, I've got Steve Davis in there, mate. Because I think what he gives you is unbelievable. I still think he's the best midfielder in Scotland, to be honest.
I think Davis was like my only. This is why I'm saying like the defence was easy, because the midfield was hard. The only reason I've not put Davis in is because the players that I put in, which are Arfield and Aribo, are just unplayable at the moment. I feel like you can't. It's hard for me to take them out that team when I'm watching them play. I'm like, there's no way I can drop you for the performances you're putting in. Scott Arfield was your player of the weekend against Aberdeen, and he's one of my first names on that team sheet. I think that Aribo, I think Kamara and Arfield with Aribo just sitting in front is a force to be reckoned with.
Scott Arfield was actually the man that I left out of the three up until Ryan Jack got injured, and he's the guy that I've brought in. I've got Scott Arfield in there. I didn't have him at my 11 because he's been bad. I just had him out just due to like maybe the game plan. I thought that we would try and play in this game, but for me, he's after Ryan Jack coming out, the next guy in line to come in, even in front of Joe Aribo in the midfield. For me, recently, I think he's been incredible, and I think he gives you a wee bit more in the midfield than Joe Aribo right now. But Aribo, of course, coming back for injury as well. Maybe no impact in the games the same way as Scott Arfield at the moment, but still having an impact in the game, which just goes to show you how good the Rangers starting 11s are doing right now. So, yeah, that's my third guy, mate.
I think the only reason I've went for Aribo is he's got that wee creative spark about him. He's got that wee bit of magic. Davis is probably the best passer I've seen in a Rangers jersey in a long time. But I feel like Kamara, Arfield can be the strength and be that solid knot in that midfield. Kamara's obviously got the twists and the turns, and Aribo's got that killer pass up to the three main men, which we'll get to in a minute.
Yes, we will indeed, mate. Moving on to the left wing position, I've got Ryan Kent. I think it's a no-brainer. He's been class so far this season. There's nobody else that's really touching that left wing position at the moment, is there?
Not at all. Ryan Kent was made in terms of like first names on the team sheet. There's about 6 on my team, but he's one of them.
Definitely, mate. Cannot be stopped. And hopefully it goes and he has a quality game versus Benfica, because obviously in the last game he had the chance to kind of put them to the sword, score that final goal and make it 4-1, and the game probably doesn't finish 3-each at that. He had another chance at Aberdeen there in front of goal where he missed again, but I was just buzzing at the fact that he got his goal, mate. It was a belter versus Aberdeen, to be quite honest. And yeah, he's one of the first names in the team sheet for me. Moving into the middle then, I've went with, in fact, we'll let you kick off on this, because there is an argument for a few players here, definitely.
So I was actually on the fence about putting Roof up front, Excel, with a winger on the, obviously to his right, but I've stuck with Morelos. He's a big game player. Obviously, he's not got that old firm goal yet, but if you look at his track record in Europe, he's unplayable. He's got the most goals in Rangers history in European competitions. So I think it's silly to leave him out of a game like this.
And I've got him in there as well, definitely. I thought versus Benfica in the last game, he was brilliant. Said it in my last video regarding the Rangers Aberdeen game there. In fact, no, I said it in the blog post regarding the Rangers and Aberdeen game. Yes, get a wee blog as well.
Plug.
Plugging like fuck here, aren't we? No, I said it in the blog post how Alfredo Morelos in the Aberdeen game gave the ball away a few times. He was silently criticised. You know, I was a couple of people saying, oh, come on. And of course he needs to improve on that. for me, with the way that Rangers are changing their style of play in terms of the rotations, it is going to take him time to adapt his gameplay to that. Versus Benfica in the previous game, how good was he? When we talk about link-up play, short passing, long passing, and he gets his goal. So for me, because it's like a new way of playing, every game is not going to be unbelievable. It's going to take time. Right. So so he can add that extra wee part to his game. But of course, I've got to start him in this game. As you said, he's a big game player. He was brilliant against him in the last game, and I've just got to have him in there.
I think some of the things people on there, like, see, because Morelos is known for getting goals, people on the noticing he's after ball work. He's some of his drop runs to create a gap. Some of his position is unbelievable. I feel like people overlook that because they're expecting goals from him. But when you look at who's getting goals for us, Tav, Kent, Roof, if the goals are coming, why does it matter who's getting them? He's playing a massive part in the build-up play to the goals. So I don't see why he doesn't play.
Definitely, mate. I would advise Rangers fans as well watching to go back to Rangers TV, and you can actually watch the full 90 minutes again for the Aberdeen game there. It's something that I'm going to be doing before I do videos on the game, because I feel like when you're watching the game, emotions are high. You want to win, maybe a bit nervous, a player might make a bad pass and you're on their back, and then for the next 10 minutes, everything they do is shite. So I went back, watched the Aberdeen game, and that's something that I did notice. The amount of runs that Alfredo was making, there was last-ditch tackles and headers and stuff that you don't really realise. I'll go back to the chance that Scott Arfield created for Joe Aribo in the 7th minute, but he could have actually played in Alfredo Morelos at the same time. So he's still making runs, mate. He's still getting into those positions in these games, but at the moment in the league, it's not really falling for him. But he's still making a lot of good runs.
Definitely.
Right, moving on to the final position on the park. We might have a difference in opinion here. I don't actually know, but I'll kick us off on this. The final guy that I've got starting is Kamara. And I know that he's no... Are you? Brilliant, man. I know that he's maybe still no at 100%, which is really promising for us. But the performance that he put in against Aberdeen, I would love to see him go with that front three again. I thought they were brilliant. Yeah, I thought the rotation was absolutely class, and I would love to see Roof get his opportunity. He might not get it due to the factors that I've just mentioned about his fitness and trying to get back to 100%, but I would just love to see that, so that's why I've got him in there.
I was very tempted to put Hadji because I feel like he's getting criticised for stuff I don't really agree with. I think he's playing really well. I think when he does play, he puts a shift in and he tries his best, and he's the joint top assister in the league, so I don't think you can actually fault him. But that front three looked quite deadly against Aberdeen. I feel like Roof fit into that position really well. I wasn't really sure before the game. I was kind of like on the fence about how I felt about it, and then once you've seen that front three play, because as you said as well, the goal in between, like I've seen Morelos in our own box, and I've seen Roof and Kent swap sides and everything. So it's one of the ones where Roof surprised me, and he fit into that position quite well, got his goal, and if he could replicate that on the Monday night, I'd be very happy.
Smashing, mate. That'll do us there then. Last wee thing, give me a prediction.
Oh, I'm confident. I'm not going to lie. I'm confident. The last one I wasn't too sure about, but this one I feel like we're going into it with really positive energy going into this one. I think we will win. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game, but I'm still going to go away at 2-0. I'm
going to double down on that then, Jack. I'm going to go 2-0 as well. I was a wee bit tempted to go 2-1, but I'd love to see us keep a clean sheet. If we can keep a clean sheet versus a team like Benfica, that would be absolutely class.
Have you seen the stat about clean sheets this season?
On you go, mate. Gaze it.
I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's like against the top 5 leagues with Scottish Prem put in. I think the second top clean sheets is 8, and we've got 17.
Talk to me.
In all competitions, obviously.
Talk to me.
How good is that? How good is that?
Shut the back door. Usually, when it comes to winning stuff, the team that concedes the least goals, it seems obvious, but the team that concedes the least goals, the best defence usually wins stuff. So Rangers have only conceded 3 goals in the league as well.
The most goals as well.
So there you go. Well. It's all coming up Millhouse, isn't it?
It's been a long time coming, but we can officially say we're back without it being like something you regret in the next 5 minutes.
Aye, definitely. But that is going to do us for this video, troops. If you have enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. I'm going to leave lots of wee links in the description for other pieces of content that you guys can get involved in as well. I'll see you in the next one. I've been SharpDiv, and also it's been Jacko Robertson with a glorious topone.
See you later.
See you later, troops.
All my weakness keep on lingering.